Man, I know why is always something killing the children.
Now listen, yeah, because this is the questionnaire. Yeah, and we're at episode. Man, I had the count right earlier today because I was going through everything because we're about to be dropping 2 episodes. Well, I take that back, ladies and gentlemen. We have been dropping 2 episodes a week, right? And the list that we've had has been phenomenal. Before we go any farther, I got to give a special shout out. Firstly, whoever that guy that answered the phone at Dark Horse, I wish I knew your name, good sir. I hope you're checking out the podcast. I only spelled it with one N,
Thank
so
you.
you might not have, right? But I appreciate you greatly, sir, because it was you, good sir. Yeah, who told me to use LinkedIn. And if it wasn't for that, I would have never spoke to Stephen Grant. And shout out to Stephen Grant for helping arrange so many interviews and having people hit me up in the email talking about, hey, man, I'm a fan of your podcast. And I'm like, dude, I've been a fan of yours for 15 years, right? So I love it. So, ladies and gentlemen, with that note, let's get our comic on, man. So, if I'm in the house, I got my homie, Nigerian brother J.D. Day Hardaway with me.
What up, everybody? How y'all doing?
He's always creeping. I swear. Like, I think he's on some Erica Slaughter shit trying to find the monsters. But that's a whole nother note we ain't going to get into.
I'm running away from Game Master because he got last place after I whooped him in this Warhammer tournament for charity. He mad. Oh, well.
Hey, that doesn't matter, though. Because this episode is all about Lovern Kindzierski. Yeah, did I get that right?
Close.
Damn it. I knew I fucked it up the second I
Kindzierski.
said it.
Yeah,
Kindzierski.
listen to your partner. He's got it.
Kindzierski. He said that the Z sounds like a J. J. It sounds like a J.
Kindzierski. Man, look, it's because I'm a hip hop artist, and I got to deal with a bunch of people, Lauren, that have two names respectively. As I am the unknown factor, and you now know the other name I go by. Hardaway. He goes by another name as well. So, and I know God knows how many people with the Chosen Few. You can check out the Chosen World on that other channel. That's a whole different note we ain't gonna get much more into though. Man, I suck with names on top of that. I'm sorry, Lovern.
But just remember, it's a J, not a Z. You keep seeing the Z and going Z. It's a J.
That's what it is. That's
It is.
I mean, you're probably right? And I think that's because you're from Canada, right? So I assume is that something in the French pronunciation?
Nope.
It's not
Polish.
Yeah, it's Polish.
Whatever.
I
love that we're getting international. I'm sorry, Lauren. Yeah.
I live in a German Polish township in my home state.
Oh yeah.
So we get a lot of like one of my good friends is Kindzierski.
Oh.
Well, you know what? We ain't using his last name no more. It's just Lauren, so I don't screw it up. Because I can get that one right? We're going to just stay honest with it.
It's just plain old Lovern.
Lovern? Shut up, man. I've been mispronouncing that too, and you let me?
Yeah. Bro, we just watched you and listened to you we told you, and you were just going blah, 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 blah. Then when we tell you again, and you'll be like, blah, 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 blah. We're just like, right. So he's already on it. Like, that's cool. Like, you have a whole new persona, man. You have a whole new identity now.
What, a name mispronouncer? Shit.
I wasn't talking to you. I was talking to Lovern.
Can you for real keep a French bread pizza in the freezer for 6 months?
Pardon me?
You said you can keep a French bread pizza in the freezer for 6 months. How do you know this exactly to be 6 months? I gotta know.
Oh, it's a couple of marriages ago. My ex was into, like, we had a giant size freezer. You know, the kind you can get 4 bodies into.
I love those kind.
Yeah, so we would go out when we would buy stuff in bulk and things like that. So we had and you don't want the stuff to turn into dust in there because it freeze dries, right? So we would So he knew about bread and pizza and stuff like that. And that
Hell
just stuck.
yeah. Okay. All right. Fair enough. Fair enough. I was just honestly curious how you knew that
I
exact
want a
thing.
deep freezer like that so
Right.
bad.
Look,
Oh,
I just want
great.
to know though, man. I typically throw my partner under the bus, but I want to ask this question myself in this occasion. I mean, because you started doing paintings, you know what I mean? What drove you from doing art in more the classical sense, I'll say?
Mm-hmm.
Because
On paper, yeah.
I'm not gonna say it's any of a higher form of art because in my opinion it's not. I'm sorry. Have you seen some of the art in comics? It's better than Mona Lisa. I don't care who gets mad at me for that. It's a fact. Okay? Um, it is.
By the
It
way,
It's
is.
your fact, but continue.
do you know that I have a degree in fine
Yes,
art?
sir, I do. And that's what I'm curious. In having a degree and going from doing what would be considered a more traditional painting, something that's I don't know if it's more publicly accepted as a job.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what the general consensus is on that. But what at that point led you to be like, screw it, I'm gonna do comic books?
Oh, because I always wanted to do comic books. The oil paintings and stuff came later.
Man, look,
You just haven't seen a lot of good oil paintings, brother. I'm serious. If you're just like, man, all comic book art is better than, I'm gonna look at you and go, man, like come to the museum up where I'm at, just for
Oh yeah,
one day and see what some of these people are doing. You'll be like, what the?
I'm not saying that there aren't amazing artists as far as in that capacity, but I'm saying a lot of I'm saying that there are artists that exist in the world as far as in that capacity that aren't as great as some of the comic book artists that exist.
That's true. That's
That's
true.
that's all that I'm
I
saying.
mean,
I'm not trying to don't get it twisted. I'm not trying to degrade either art. They both have and serve their own purpose within our society, and I think that's a good thing. Um,
kidding.
Yeah, obviously you got a degree in fine arts, man. So I would hope you obviously think the same. Uh, Apparently I misread your about in on your website. I want to point out because I swear it seemed like you had been exhibited before you did comics from the about that
Yeah,
I read.
yeah, I have.
Okay. See, that's what led me to the question as far as like what led you into that because I was under the impression, just like I said, based on the about that I technically have in front of me on a page of paper.
I
for
had
those who may not have been on the site yet, where have you been exhibited at? Like where have you been
oh
displayed?
just some local galleries and one in Ontario. I can't remember the name. I'd have to actually go into my resume to look them up. But it was a long time ago. I had actually been trying to get into comics for a long time. You know, sending stuff to Marvel in DC saying hire me, and and I just kind of gave up at one point. My wife, my first wife, had said, "You have a year. We're going to go nuts. We're going to do everything we can to get you a job in comics." And I spent 1 year killing myself, like getting my chops up, working on my pencils, which weren't anywhere as where I wanted them to be, but I got my inking really sharp. And I wasn't even thinking of color as a job, and and nothing happened in that year, so the deal was done. I was quit comics. I started painting, exhibiting some stuff in some galleries. um, by the way, do you know what kind of percentage the galleries take when they sell one of your paintings?
I don't know that I want to know, but please do
it's
tell us.
it's awful, you know, like uh, back when I was doing it, it was nicer than it is in some galleries now, and they were taking 60%
Yeah,
plus
I
charge
believe it.
plus charging me for the framing.
I believe it.
Yeah, so it wasn't much of a living. So I was working as a printer during the day and and working on getting into galleries and that. And then at the Winnipeg Art Gallery, there was a show that I had to attend. And I went and attended this show. And I don't know if you know this or not, but Jim Steranko had an exhibition at the Winnipeg Art Gallery of his work. He had like one big floor, a ton of his stuff. And it was a big deal. When he came in, the mayor was actually at the opening festivities to give him the keys to the city and stuff. And I met Jim there, and he was leading a group around, and he was pointing at some of his covers, and he was saying, "Do you know how I did this? Anybody?" And everybody was silent. And I said, "Oh, well, that's a photomechanical transfer, and you just cut and pasted it in." And he was like, "You." I was like, "Oh shit." And I thought I was in shit, but he was like, "Great, now how about this?" And we went through, and so we did like a show, a floor show, the two of us walking through, and him asking me questions about stuff, and him doing the answers and that. And then when all of that official stuff was over, he turned to me and he basically said, "How can we get out of here without having to go out the front door?" Because he had enough of the official politics. And so I smuggled him out of there, and we spent hours just talking shit. And at the end of it, he said, "I'm doing a show at a comic. What was it called? It was called Styx Comics." And he was doing a signing there, and he said, "I am not looking at anybody's portfolios, but you bring yours in tomorrow. I want to see it." And I brought my portfolio in, and he looked at all of my stuff, and he said, "Why aren't you doing comics?" And I said, "Because nobody will hire me." And he was like, "Well, don't give up." And so I didn't. I went back to comics. My wife was not impressed, but she is an act.
Can I ask, how is that? To go through everything you have and all the story you just explained, and in the long run, by Comic Buyer's Guide, to be told like you are one of the most influential colorists of period in comic books.
I was, when I first heard about that, before I actually picked up my copy of the Comic Buyer's Guide, somebody was telling me about it, and I thought they were kidding. And then I got my copy and I looked at it and it said that, and I was like, wow, somebody actually saw me. So it was great to be noticed.
I mean, that's phenomenal, man. I mean, especially knowing, like I said, that you co-founded Digital Chameleon, which obviously had a huge effect on far as just how comics are colored. And I mean, to me, that's a large part of comic books is the color. There are some comics that will work in black and white with just being inked. You know, there are a assload more common. Like, imagine the X-Men in black and white and how much it wouldn't have worked.
Oh yeah, but to be fair, Jack was drawing it for color.
I mean, that's true. Like, I mean, there are artists that specifically do that. But
yeah,
I mean, I can think of so many other things. You know what I mean? As far as like, if the color wasn't there, the comic would have suffered so much, right? And then you go in, like, so what is it that took you from that to where you're like, I want to write some things?
Oh, when I was a kid, like, I was making comic books in high school, short ones, because I remember trying to do a long one, and I just ran out of steam. So I was making short little, did a martial arts comic and stuff like that. And then when I started getting into professional life and had kids and all of that, suddenly my spare time shrunk a lot. So after that, I was doing like commissions and stuff. People would get me to I think back then I was doing a lot of Starlin covers, so I'd reproduce a Starlin cover and sign it after Starlin, and sell it like that. And people knew that at the comic shop where I collect comics. So I'd get 1 or 2 commissions like that, but not much. And so I always had that storytelling bug. So when I had that opportunity, I was working on, we were working on a benefit book that Star Reach and Marvel put out. It was called Within Your Reach. And the benefits went to AMFAR, which is an AIDS
Real
program.
quickly, I don't mean to interrupt you, but is there any place I can get that in where it's collected into a graphic novel in some form? Do you know? If not, I'll ask Dave at Comic Book University. I'm sure he can tell me.
It's a single issue, one shot anthology. It's a bunch of short stories.
All right, I'm gonna have to find it.
Yeah, I went out and I was down to my last copy, and I went to a store and went through some old bins in his warehouse, and I found 2 copies there. So they're floating around out there. We printed about 35,000 of them.
Okay, I'm gonna have to find a copy of that. And I say that specifically because of what influenced you to write that story, as far as being a recently divorced with 2 kids. And we'll just say I'm in a situation, and we'll leave it at that. So I would really, at the moment I'm at in my life, I would like that story. You know what I mean? Just on a personal note.
Yeah. It's funny that was the first story that I had published, and I was thinking about other stuff in that. But the Star Reach had put me together with Tim Sale. And I said, Tim, what do you want me to write for you to draw? Because we're doing this for a benefit. We're not getting money out of this. So what do you want? And he said that, he was not happy with drawing costume. He would like a slice of life story. And I said, okay. And I'll give you a call like tomorrow night. And that just popped into my head, told him about it. He was like down for it. And it's a story about me, but he changed it into I'm guessing you've seen it on my Facebook?
I remember we just became Facebook friends. No, I haven't.
Oh, okay.
I've been looking at your website and several. I'm not going to say I didn't do research, but as you say, at a certain point, when you get to a certain degree in life, that spare time just kind of shrinks. And I've felt that very much. I've tried to research as much as I possibly could have, and that's all. But that's why I said I do want to pick it up. I'm hoping Dave can find me a copy somehow. I'm gonna annoy him next time I'm up at there. I got no doubt. Like, dude, I need this real specific comic. He's like, dude, you're becoming an asshole.
Anyways, instead of me being the main character in there, Tim made it about somebody with a darker complexion. But that's me, and so just a little story about me, and he made it this creation so that it wasn't about me, it was about the story. It was great. And he is such a good storyteller. And the book went out, and I think it was a day after it hit the stands. I got a call at work, and it was Matt Wagner, and I'm like, holy shit, Matt Wagner's calling. And I picked up the phone, and he was like, you son of a bitch, you made my wife cry. And I was like, like when you don't expect stuff like that, and my brain is going, I don't even know your wife. What did I do? What? And he said, that was a great story, man. And I was like, oh, like, my brain finally got up. So I was like, okay, Tim liked it, Matt liked it, I'm good.
That's a
Awesome.
phenomenal
So
story.
hold on.
Yeah, go ahead,
I
Hardaway.
got I got a question.
Sure.
For that story, if you could pick a theme song to play in the background for
Ooh.
people when they read it, what would it be or what would it sound like?
Okay, the title of the story is So This Is Christmas. And I have a thing. And the thing is, Christmas doesn't begin for me, the season doesn't begin for me until I hear John Lennon singing those words at the beginning of one of his songs. You know what song I'm talking about, right? He starts out, So This Is Christmas, another year done.
Oh yes, actually yes.
Yes,
Okay.
that's the soundtrack. Because at the end of the story, I sit down in the dark and I turn on the radio, and no word of a lie, I was trying to bring myself out of the bottom of really deep depression, and I thought, okay, I'm gonna make Christmas as much as I can, and I had like no money. I had like nothing. All the money I had, I spent on my kids' Christmas presents, and so I was alone in my apartment at Christmas night, and I was cleaning out the storage locker, and I moved some boxes, and there was a little Christmas tree, and I thought, fuck this, I'm gonna have Christmas. So I took the tree, set it up. It's one of those little ceramic
Oh my
trees with
God.
lights in it.
Laverne, can you stop before I got water coming out my damn face? I swear to God, I know Hardaway sees
You
it too.
shut your
Like,
mouth
go ahead
and
though,
let
for real.
this man tell the
I
story.
just have to point out, continue your story. I do definitely want to hear the rest
Yeah,
of it. I just had to
okay.
pause you for a moment, in all honesty, more than anything to compose my damn self. But continue, bro. Jesus.
Okay. So I found the tree. I decided, well, I can pretend nothing's going on, or I can make Christmas for myself. So I went out and I made myself, you know, the cup kind of cocoa that you have to make on the stove.
Hmm.
Yeah. So I made myself some cocoa, poured myself a cup, sat down, and had the little bit of lights on in the little ceramic tree. It wasn't very bright. Turned the lights out and turned my radio on. And no word of a lie, I heard John Lennon say, "So this is Christmas." And then I had Christmas. So
That
that's what that story is.
that is a beautiful story. So I just want to point out for everyone that follows the questionnaire, that's what you need to listen to when you go read that story by John Laverne. Or well, fuck, man, what the fuck by Laverne?
By
I'm fucking
Lovern.
shit up all
Lovern
goddamn day.
Kindzierski. We know.
Yeah, man, my bad. I do look. If anybody that watches this show doesn't realize I'm terrible with names by now, I don't know what to tell you. But when you
No
read
worries.
Plush, apparently you need to listen to Disco. I don't get Doug's thought on that. I'm really worried about fucking Plush coming out and everything. That's a whole nother story, though. Make sure you check out that episode as well. Um, Stop trying to bring water to my face, man, for real.
Thank you.
Shit.
Well,
Swear on my life. So I just want to ask on that
Don't
note, man. Let's
if
say
that one got you, yeah, if that one got you, don't read Underworld.
you're gonna not recommend your book. I think is really
Well,
funny.
sorry, it was a book I did for therapy when my when that it was later in the same year, and it originally started as a screenplay, but ended up as a graphic novel. And it's about the Odyssey, you know, like
Yeah.
Odysseus.
Yes.
hmm
Yes.
It's
Yes.
about the Odyssey happening in Winnipeg, where I live, in the 1980s, for real. And I was Odysseus, except in the book, it's I'm not called Odysseus. I was going to call myself Homer, but then The Simpsons fucked that up. so so I've got another name, but it's a story about a guy who escapes from the psych ward, thinks he's Odysseus, and he wanders across the city trying to get home to his wife and his kid, because he knows that he's losing them and he wants to get them back, and he has to go through all of the trials of Odysseus.
Stop trying to get me in my feels. All right? Had enough of them recently. So let's flip this, man, to a different note. I want to know if, as an artist, man, you could pick a writer to work with, right? Just out of the industry, man. No one dead. No one dead. All right? All right. Who you want to work with, man? Like, who's your dream writer to hand you a script to turn into a page?
Well, I've worked with Alan Moore. My tryout at DC was with Alan Moore.
I mean, you've got a list of artists you've worked with. I will say. How about this? Let me be more specific. And firstly, for everyone that wants to know more, you can check the link to the website or check the links on the description. We've got links to his website and all kinds of other things. But someone you haven't worked with. Let me be more specific because
an artist I haven't worked with.
Yeah.
Geez. Well, I don't know. Like, there's a few. You know, we all have our little wish lists.
Don't we?
Yeah. I don't know. Off the top of my head, Toby Cypress. Haven't worked with him. Man. Barry Smith. I know he probably would want to do his own color, but I remember taking my portfolio into oh man, where was he working with Leighton, the publisher? Was it Valiant or no? I forget that. It was the same publisher, but it had like 3 different names because it got
Did you notice when you said Valiant, Hardaway went?
You shut up, man.
They didn't give me any work. They didn't give me any work, but I remember taking my portfolio in and I was showing it to the guys in the bullpen there. And Bob Leighton was saying, yeah, this isn't a really good time. And, you know, you can come back tomorrow sort of thing, because they were busy doing stuff. And he was just walking me to the door when Barry Smith came in and I can't remember exactly how it was, but he went into his studio and then he stopped and he turned around and he said, "What's in your portfolio?" And I said, "Well, I'm a colorist and I got some inks and stuff." And he said, "Oh, color. Oh, come on back. I want to see that." And Leighton was like, "Hey, we got stuff to do." And Barry was like, "It won't take a minute." And so he called me back in and he was looking at the stuff and then he started telling me how good it was. And Leighton was like, and then Bob was like, "Hang on a second, let me see some of that." And then we ended up, yakking about comics and asking about what I'd done and why I had those decisions and that. And it was great. I was on top of the world.
Now, how is it though? Because I assume when you walk into anywhere and you show them your portfolio, now it's a different story, right?
Yeah.
How is the difference in that, man? From going from being that guy that, not to play off my own name, is very much an unknown and just you're trying to get out there to you're known as one of the best, if not the best colorist in the industry.
Yeah, not in my opinion, but go ahead.
Well, no, well, whatever. I would have to look at a lot of different colors and like I honestly think when it comes to colors, it depends on the story, who works the best. You know what I mean? I mean, that's my opinion as far as a comic book fan. I think that the artist and the colorist needed for a story very much depend on the story that's being told.
Oh yeah.
You know?
Yeah, like if I was working on Yves Chaland, I wouldn't color him or even think the same way if I was working on Jim Lee.
Exactly. Yeah. But I mean, just what's that feeling as far as from walking into there and it being that reception to the reception that you get now?
The reception I get now? I don't know. I feel pretty much I'm professionally do a lot of comics and that it's more the old guard that remember me, and a lot of the new people, I'd be very surprised if they knew who I was.
What do you think about that, man? Because that's something that we got into a bit with Mark McKenna, that he said specifically Marvel had told him, oh, we got all these new young guys. So, you know, if you want to do art for us, you have to drop what your fee is, because why would we pay you this when we've got this other young artist that will take this amount of money? Have you ever ran into that kind of problem? And do you see that as an issue in the industry?
Oh, the publishers have a very efficient way of dealing with that. No emotions involved. They basically, I used to have a page rate, but now I don't. I know a few colorists in that, and as far as I know, colorists don't have a page rate anymore. The book has a page rate.
So, do you mean that's based more on the popularity of the book?
That's what they say. They say this book, if it's a new book that they can't say it sells this much, they can say this is our estimate of how well this book will sell. So we think it's only going to make X dollars. So the page rates for the book are set at this. So you're going to get $60 a page for doing the work on that, which is a large come down from the days when I used to get 1,000.
What now? And Hardaway, shut up as far as me asking the same questions. I don't want to bloody well hear it. Because I mean, I know for a fact that, you know, in between the 80s and 90s, I think was probably the real boom as far as comics got sold. You know what I mean? Because as we've discussed several times in previous episodes, you know, you had it to where you could buy it off the newsstand. They had the weekly issues. They were in Kroger. They were in Walmart. They were in your local pharmacy.
I wish they had never walked away from the newsstands.
I'll swear to the unknown that I agree, my friend. I very much do. Because I mean, and for so many reasons, I say that, up to and including the fact that when you walk up to a newsstand with a kid, you know what I mean? If that's there, they're more apt to then want to pick that up and read, which we need to read as a society. For those of you that don't understand that, I'm sorry you watch TikTok too much. Even though I know we're on TikTok, I swear to God, if you don't put that on TikTok, Hardaway, I'm going to be annoyed with you, right? Because, yeah, fuck TikTok. I say that, while my brother posts TikToks.
Yeah, it used to be the kid with the highest reading skills in grade 3 was a comic book reader.
It's hilarious you said that, because my comprehension as far as for reading always tested off the charts. And I've read comics since I can bloody well remember. You know, there's not a time that I can remember that I was not a fan of comics. Like the cover that's on this, I'm not sure when it's dated. I'd have to look it up. I had this comic at one point. I've read the crap out of it. You know?
Yeah, I didn't color that. So don't blame me. I didn't color that. Don't blame me for that one.
What? Man, look, I ain't blaming you for nothing. I thought, you know, whatever.
Oh, good. I'm okay.
Yeah, I wasn't blaming you for nothing. I've looked at work of yours. I shouldn't say I've read it, but I will get to that, because you do have a very interesting. Let me see.
Actually, this is one thing I will say. I have looked at your stuff, and I have read some of the actual paperback novels that you colored the graphics for. Starts with, like Coraline, Graveyard Book,
yeah.
47 Ronin, so on and so forth. It's like that. That's insane that you got the color, like you got to do work on those. I'm like, I didn't even know there were actually comics or graphic novels until this interview, and I got to look up your work. And I was like, wait, what? I'm about to buy all of these.
And on that note, I do want to say I will be adding to my pull list the first graphic novel, Shame. And because I want to read that story, and just through this interview, I swear, is that going to bring me to tears, bro? I'm just going to ask you straight out.
No,
Okay.
it's a fantasy story I made up to entertain my second wife on a long car drive.
Nice. I love that's way
That
to
is an
make
answer
money
I did
off of
not bloody
all.
well expect. How long was this car ride, firstly?
It was about 4 hours, and when we got out, I realized I'd forgotten our tapes, and the radio out in the country where we were driving was awful. So I turned the radio off, and I said, we should just talk. And she looked at me and she said, tell me a story. and I thought, oh yeah, I was thinking about, like, I love Wally Wood, and he did a short story in was it creepy or eerie, called The Curse, and I thought that's kind of cool. I'll tell her about that story because it's got a nice little hook in it. And I started to tell her that, and as I was starting to tell her that, some stuff just rolled around in my head. Like those old games where you tried to get the BBs to stay in the little holes in the thing when you roll it around. Yeah, that's how my brain works. So something stuck.
First of all, I completely relate. I get that. But yeah, proceed.
Yeah. So something stuck, and I thought about some of the grief she was going through with her mother. And so I started this thing about this good witch who has a selfish wish. And she makes her selfish wish. And you know the old saying, careful what you wish for. So she wishes she had a daughter, but she's around 200. So, the egg's been gone a long time. So she makes this wish, and suddenly she feels really strange. And she does some, throws the bones, and the bones tell her, you're going to have a baby. And she's like, what the? And all of a sudden, this demon appears in her fireplace and tells her, I granted your wish. You're going to get your baby, but it's going to be my kid. So she has let a great evil into the world.
All right. I'll definitely be picking that up. So, Dave, if you're tuning in and you haven't already added it to my pull list, add it to my pull list.
Yeah, and the only other thing I'd say about the book is John Bolton. He's painting it, and it's going to be 9 books, and he's been working on it for 6 years now.
Now, you're referring to Hell's Flaw in that, right? The second part?
Hell's Flaw is the second book of the second trilogy. It's 3 trilogies. It's going to be 9 books. So, yeah, he's doing that. As far as I know, he's doing any other work. I had Chris Claremont come up to me at a con and say, I understand you're working with John Bolton. And I was like, yeah, he's painting this story of mine. I'm so lucky. And Chris was like, yeah, you're lucky. Like, fuck you. So I'm guessing Chris had something he wanted John to paint.
To get that response from Chris Claremont, man, that had to be just a moment of like, that's right.
No, but Chris was saying that with a lot of love.
Oh no, I mean that bad, but yeah, like I mean the same thought would be given back. I mean, I wouldn't expect you to say it, but like, that's right. Fuck you too, man. I love you though, Chris. You know what I mean? Kind of thing. Yeah, that's a beautiful moment, bro. I'm very happy to hear that. And like I said, I sincerely, yeah. You'll see that on a future episode at some point, I promise. Because, that's what I do. So I want to know, based on your love of Highlander, when you're going to just write a character about someone or write about someone that's a character that's immortal. And great choice, by the way, on favorite film. I love that movie. I love Christopher Lambert as an actor. I think he is one of the most underrated actors of that generation. If y'all haven't seen Mean Guns, I highly recommend it. Have you seen Mean Guns, bro?
Have you seen The Sicilian?
I want to say that I have, but God, it's been a while.
Oh, you should see him as Sicilian.
I think. Wait. Oh.
And he did.
Now you're really
He did
testing me.
this. Yeah, he did. He did another film. What the heck was it now?
Beowulf. He was part of
Oh yeah, no. This was like
during the Highlander era.
No, around then. Shortly after that, it was really crazy. It was like neo-punk experimental film thing. It was really great. It was like it was kind of up there with damn, what's that? Have you seen the Repo Man or with Tony Head? You know, the guy who played Giles in Buffy.
Yeah.
Is that the one where
they're
what do they do?
Organs?
Yeah.
Yeah, they're repoing organs.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. He basically, if you haven't made payments on your transplant, they come and cut it back out of you.
Have a flesh wound and die on a whole nother level.
Oh yeah, it's great. I love it.
It's just terrifying. I hope we don't reach that point, but that's a whole nother conversation.
I'm a natural for it. I colored Trencher. Trencher was a repo man.
I just don't want us to get to that point as a society, though. You know what I mean? Like,
hey, dude, we're already there.
Yeah, can we not, like, you're trying to bring tears to my face. Now you're trying to depress me. I'm going to end this interview.
Have you read or looked at this man's list? I'm just going to go off of the small list that's on here. We got Savage Hearts, The Worst, they're just titles. The Worst News, Breakneck, like The Problem of Susan and other stories. Like, I want to now read these, like the Necromantic. I want to read all of these now. I'm probably going to.
Necromantic was killed by COVID. So anything you can do to get people to read that book, great, because I think we sold 3 copies.
We'll put a link in the description. I'll tell you that. For anything that you want to check out as far as we discuss during this interview that's concerned with his work, there'll be a link in the description. You'll be able to find it easily, ladies and gentlemen. I promise you that without a doubt, because I'll make him send me links to make sure I don't screw anything up. You know, I like to make sure I don't screw things up over here. What can I say? Right?
Well, it's in stock in the UK.
Huh?
I said it's in stock in the UK.
Whatever, man. Don't act like you're not going to read it anyway, but digitally.
Doesn't mean I can't print. Shut up, shush.
So let me ask you that, man. And I don't care, Hardaway. Don't tell me repeating questions. I think it's an important question to ask, especially for someone that's been in the industry so long. You've seen it change, man. You know what I mean? To where it used to be everything was print. You wanted to read a comic book, you better go get you some paper, right? Yeah. With some pictures on it. You know what I mean? To where now it's just you don't need that. What's your whole opinion on that, man, and the effect that it's had on everything as a whole?
It's just another product. I mean, there was a lot of scare when digital comics were first coming out because people thought, oh no, the paper's going to go away and everybody's just going to be reading comics on their phone and all that. And a lot of companies, they were betting on that happening, and that didn't happen. It's sales went up to a certain level and they just stayed there. So it's like an alternative. It's like I don't know. It's like you can get the trade paperback that's just a trade paperback, or you can get a hardcover one for a few dollars more. Or if you're a purist, you want to get each issue that came out. Like, look at how many different formats you get Watchmen in.
There's always the big graphic novels, the art prints they do now.
And then you can go to,
you know what I mean?
Go to the Absolute, and then you can spend some money on getting the artists version of it where it's the full size book of the original art recopied into, recreated in a book. So it's just another product, and that's great. Hopefully, it broadens the market. The thing that I was always sorry about was that when the first Batman movie came out, a lot of stuff was running on that. In '88, I was at a Comic-Con in London, and I was really lucky to be there because DC started a bus and took a bunch of us guys to Pinewood Studios, and we got in onto the sound stages of that first Batman movie, the Michael Keaton.
Oh, I'm kind of jealous.
Oh, it was great. The worst part of it was, though, security would not let us take cameras in there, and that was back before phones with cameras. So we went in and saw all this stuff in that, and we had a nice little speech from a couple of the producers telling us that we're going to show you around and all that, and we would ask that if you don't like stuff, please keep it to yourself, because there's millions of dollars invested in this, and people could lose their shirts, and so many jobs were created for this, and all of that. And it was kind of like the the speech that you'll see occasionally at the theaters about pirating, about how many people are affected by your decision. And then they showed us this stuff, and we were all blown away. Like, nobody was unimpressed. And I mean, we got to walk down Gotham Main Street, where the Joker's on the street, and the bat plane comes down and buzzes him, and he pulls out his gun and shoots the bat plane in that. And I remember sneaking down into the back alley where Bruce Wayne's parents are killed. And so John Byrne and I snuck in there, and we were like, "Oh, this is so cool!" It was great.
So let me ask,
go ahead. No, but my point was, but after that, we thought, if this goes out and it's a success, comic books are going to sell like crazy, and they didn't.
So let me ask you a couple points to that. Is it amazing to realize how much the comic book industry has created jobs in Hollywood and the film industry? Because let's be honest, I don't know what percentage of material that's produced is comic book related, but I'm going to say it's at least 1% that comes out film and movie wise that in some way is related to a comic book. I feel like I'm estimating really, 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 really low, to be real honest.
Yeah.
If it was more like 10 at minimum, I wouldn't be surprised. I'm just not trying to get in anybody's panties in a damn wad because, man, you're giving comics too much credit. You're not giving them enough.
There's too many film reviewers now that are saying that they are inundated by comic book material and they don't like it.
But you know what? At that same time, I think that's mainly because of how popular the MCU has become. And they don't realize there are so many other things like Road to Perdition, which we brought up on previous episodes, From Hell, Two Guns, which is Stephen Grant's work. There are so many things that they're not superhero. You know what I mean? But they're based on comic books. And I think people lose a certain view of that and don't understand how deep that it truly runs. Like, imagine, I'll bring up our first guest on the show. Imagine if they turned Swingers into a movie, right? That's a porn.
I'm sorry, I missed what the title was.
Swingers by Matt Hawkins. I don't know if you've ever read it.
Okay. Yeah.
Like that's. I mean, it's you're not getting that and it not being X-rated,
Yeah. I'm pretty sure there's a ton of porn out there with superheroes in it.
But fair enough. But that's what. But I'm talking about what Matt Hawkins did with Swingers. It's not porn. I mean, it's not. It is. If you made it into a film, it would be pretty pornographic. Let me correct myself. It's not superheroes in any capacity. It's about a couple that's having a relationship problems, and they end up moving into the swinger world to try and fix everything. You know what I mean? It's more about a real life situation that could happen to a couple, as opposed to oh, her name escapes me from The Boys. Oh, that's gonna annoy the shit out of me. The main female from the Seven. Oh,
Maeve.
Maeve. Thank you. I apologize, Garth Ennis. But Maeve, it's not Maeve crushing some dude's head because she has superpowers. It's legit a couple trying to be comfortable with themselves and sexually in an adult situation. So I mean, there's nothing superhero about it. Or so many things that you've worked on, man, like Tarzan. Tarzan is in no way a superhero. There's a mythology there. I'll give you that. But it's not, I can shoot laser beams out my eyes. I can fly. I can teleport. I shoot lightning bolt out my butthole,
Oh, you've read Trencher.
Sometimes you got to shoot lightning bolt out your butthole. God knows my boy would find it amusing. I'm just glad that I don't. I'd probably destroy way more than I already do. But that's neither here nor there.
I have a question.
Please.